I work in a shipping container. I run a business. I create my art. I do all of it from an old shipping container. The space is raw and gritty and most often than not a mess. And I love it. I love it. The container is 13.5 square meters, so 135 square foot, and that's more than enough space for me. All I need is a desk and my massive ass screen. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The building that it's in is a creative incubator. You know, same as those Silicon Valley incubators where they get the best minds. Over here they get the creatives. Perfect Futur, which is German for, I'm pretty sure you can translate that German. Perfect Future is in a city, not the one that I live in, but next to it, kind of next to it. In Germany there's always like a million towns in between. But it's part of a UNESCO City of Media Arts. Pretty freaking cool. Media art stands for social and technological innovation, for creativity, connectivity, which is pretty perfect for it to be the home of Get Messy. Get Messy, my company, is all about creativity and connection. Perfect Future is inside of the Schweinemarkthalle, which is the old pig market hall. The whole area is an old slaughterhouse. It's from the 1920s, but in 2006 they started renovating the whole space and making it a bit more lively. So outside of this building, in the rest of the old slaughterhouse, you'll find other buildings that have been converted and they are now ateliers, studio spaces, architecture, offices. But inside this building there are 68 converted sea cargo containers. One of them is mine. When I first moved into the building, I shared that one there on top. I shared it with another person who had a creative business. She ended up moving out and I ended up moving into my little one on the ground floor. Okay, so that's the context of the space. Now let's head to my neck of the slaughterhouse. Oh, that mixed metaphor does not work out. My studio is kind of like a mullet in that there is business at the front, party at the back. This little outside space I use only for creating. The containers for work, outside, that's for art. Now usually I'm a pretty tidy person, but I left it all out just for you, just to show it to you in the mess. This is my all-time favorite bit of wall. Some flowers that will dry nicely because I can only keep green things slightly alive. I promise I'll get back to those cabinets soon. Let's first look inside. I can't even tell you how proud I was putting that logo on the window. And remember I told you it was an old pig market haul? This bearded piggy came with me from South Africa and made himself my keyring. The first thing inside of the container is this roller cupboard. It's vintage. It keeps my typewriters, a collection for my keys and my masks, and plants, which often get twirled up into the typewriters. This plant started as a baby. He's grown so much since we've been here. 2 pieces by my all-time favorite artist, Jana Soika, and yeah, that yellow leaf was annoying me. Much better. I really do love him. On either side of the container, there are 3 IKEA Fjälkinge shelves. We'll start with the most boring. This is my laser printer by Brother. It is black and white, and it is amazing. My Canon scanner, and then I have my Epson color printer. I love each of these individually, but they're still printers and they still have their problems. Except for the Brother. The Brother's my homeboy. He is perfect and he prints on essentially anything. Vintage paper, plastic sheets, and he never complains. We'll awkwardly maneuver up to the next shelf, which just has a collection of, honestly, just strange things to put together. Yeah, I left them as is because I wanted to show you the mess and be real. Tissues, paper towels, business cards. Man, I feel legit keeping my business cards in this vintage toast holder. I've got mine, I've got my notaries, and I have my business card contact person. I have my sewing machine on that shelf too, but moving up, we have some junk. Just loose coins. A workbook, a vintage napkin, envelopes, and my all-time favorite books. Then, next to them, also have more books and some magazines. Some of these are the class workbooks for Get Messy, and there's also Brush Magazine, which was a magazine led by Tanya Lee Kala and sponsored by Get Messy. Here's the nonsense. But inside this old cigar box, there are some juicy, juicy art supplies. Oh, I love this little box. Onto the next shelf, and we have more nonsense. I have since cleaned it, by the way. Like, I left it as a mess on purpose, like I said. But I 100% could not deal with it anymore, and I cleaned it. But we do have my really, really exciting postcards. These go out to everyone that pre-orders my book. It's the cover image without the title on it. Gold foil, look at that. But I get to put the person's address there in that space, that blank journal space, which I love. I also have the new Get Messy postcards that came through. So these feature artwork by various Messians, and it's just a 21-day ticking off for the first 21 days of Getting Messy. These go out to all new members. They just came in, and so I'm still putting them together for the newest people. Previously, they got postcards, but I've kind of leveled up my game. A stamp, because I'm an official business person that needs my address as a stamp. I use enough for that. Confetti for the new members. Also some projects that I am in the middle of. These boxes. These were boxes that were the ones I didn't end up using for a class for Get Messy called Unfold. But right now it's housing some zines. And this, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure what it's going to be housed for, but I need to cover that biscuits part. These are the zines that were in the book. This is one about me. See? The Quantified Self, and Defining Characteristics scene. At the bottom of that shelf is my pride and joy, my pink Smeg kettle. It makes the most glorious sound when you turn it on. It makes me happy every time. Every time. Next up we have my fridge, which I would love to say is a Smeg too, but man, I cannot afford that. I mean, even when I can afford it, I can't spend that much money on a fridge. So we've got this mint green one with gold lettering that I've put on off center, which is totally fine, and I don't think about it at all. I essentially use this to keep my milk. Even though it's long life milk, and it is cow milk, I'm not hipster enough to use plant milk, although I do keep there for my friends. And I keep my lunch, which is usually a salad or rice and a salad. Moving on to the other shelf, we have all my journals. Yeah. We also have a few containers, and this one has a bunch of recycled journal pages. So I recently went through them, tore some pages out, ones that I wanted to keep. And so they're all mixed up here. And this is an example of one of the ones that I wanted to keep. I ended up using it. I made it a journal cover, or part of a journal cover, but didn't really like the rest of the journal. And so that's why I just have the sheet. That's the beauty of journaling. Another project, I'm currently binding a heart pattern. And so I sewed this fabric, it's Liberty fabric, and I sewed it against some cork. And you can see there, that's the pattern for the binding. And now I just need to bind it, which is intimidating. And that's why it's still in a box. Usually my projects don't stay in a box. But I have, you know, all the signatures ready, and they're made with Tamari River paper and vintage paper, which is pretty normal for me. Some vintage books. This is a poetry album, and this word means something completely different in Afrikaans. Vintage notebook, I think that is. Might be a ledger. And then just papers. I whittled down my journal collection. I'm only keeping stuff that still makes me happy, still actively makes me happy. I've made over 300 journals. These are the ones that have stood the test of time. These covers make me happy. So happy. All my journals are they're like my children. I don't have favorites, except that I do have favorites. And this is definitely the favorite. It was bound by Willow Wonders on Instagram. And she's housed some of my most intimate journey yet. I reach for her the most. And the CBD bomb. It's a constant reoccurring theme in my life. Trying to get a grip and organize these journals. I feel like the only ones that I really can organize are these zines. I keep them in little boxes and old cigar boxes, and I'm slowly but surely filling them up. Speaking of filled up, these boxes on the top of the shelves are way filled up. They're from IKEA naturally. And so are these lights that I put up and wired myself. In fact, I did most of this wiring. Of course, I found a hot pink LAN cable and cable ties that are hot pink. Everything in the container, the electricity and all of that comes from the top, so there are no plugs or anything. I had to do it all myself. One of the questions I got when I mentioned that I was doing a studio tour was to look in my bin. I love that question. But yeah, no, I had just emptied this bad boy. I love him. I truly love this bin. I love everything in here. I love this vintage Berlin map. I love this postcard that I made that my friend filled out for me, congratulating me on my book. I love this postcard of Aboriginal art given to me for my birthday from my friend. I very much like this bank statement that's behind it that was posted to me by my bank when a foreign currency went in for the advance payment for my book. It's kind of like saving a $1 like the first dollar you made. This mini gallery has started appearing next to my computer, and I love it too. This is a journal that was made for my 33rd birthday by my friends. Got pictures all over of my friends and of baby Kaylee. This entire container is magnetic, which makes for both fun and frustration. I've been keeping a recent journal that I love pinned up with a bulldog clip. That's one that I made for Unfold, for Get Messy. A vintage postcard of the casual castle in my town and the casual mountain shaped like a table from the place I stayed before that. Both of them are vintage. This from a vintage bookstore because we had spent so many hours there just looking at the books, and the owner was quite happy with us. A reminder that the path to making good art includes making a lot of bad art. Art by my friends, gifts from my friends, a reminder, and a vintage napkin. My computer has always been number one in my life. And my screen, oh man, my screen. I couldn't even hug it if I wanted to, and I do want to. The tape goes up and down. The microphone always gives me problems when I'm going up and down. Actually, it's the main reason why I can't cable organize. But it's fine. When I'm sitting, I use this chair from IKEA that I bought just because it's pink. And if I'm doing work that is less intensive and something that needs a lot of concentration, I really like my desk treadmill. I know it's a bit extra, but you know what? It helps me think. I was never the type of person who could just stand and work, and then I discovered I could move and work. Both, walk and work. I walk at like 4.5 k's an hour, so not that fast, but it helps me forget that my cable management is an abomination on humankind. After my screen, this is my favorite thing in my office. If you're freaking out about my bare feet, just know that I'm from South Africa and we used to go to school in our bare feet. My desk is not usually this messy, but maybe some kind of this at all times. There's usually something for me to open an envelope, there is almost always a camera tripod connector, coffee. This one's cold, and also I forgot that I made it, and then I just started filming, so accurate. A container with my AirPods, some coins, and cuticle oil because I saw my hands in 4K. Logitech Craft keyboard and mouse. I'm obsessed with them. I have them on every computer I own. And besides the stark white wall of the container, this is the view from my desk. I made the shelf myself, and it's hanging at the top with magnets. Neon pink ski rope, I think. Propagating some plants that are now dying. And oh, my bougainvillea, my dried white bougainvillea. I actually have this tattooed. So here's where all the magic happens. And check that out. This is a German window. You can make it a door or a window or just close it, which I guess makes it a wall. 3-in-1. Let's go to my creative space. So back to those Apothecary Cabinets. Well, they're not actually that. They're actually library catalog cabinets. And the bottom one is a workshop cabinet. And I couldn't believe it when I found it. They're beautiful, but they are flawed. And they are very exceptionally good at organizing art supplies. I have one drawer for mediums. It's very difficult to open these drawers. They're not smooth, and if I had some heart, I might work on that, but I do not feel like it. There's one for cables. One for, well, yeah, lots for ephemera, and the ephemera is organized different ways. This tends to be magazines, scrapbook paper, you know, anything more current. And this is all the memories. So, you know, my flower, the bougainvillea, letters that I have received. That's not my address, don't worry about it. Art by my son, and you can see that guy shake. Some napkins. And my poor baby plant, I keep pushing him into the drawer. Sorry, plant. Some stencils, some thread for my sewing machine that I use exclusively for paper, and refills of this bad boy because I can't run out of this. Various palettes, and I just brought some new ones home with me, so they're all nice and clean. But can you tell that almost everything I do involves avoiding cleaning paintbrushes and palettes? My heat gun, which has apparently its own drawer, even though I don't use it that frequently. And some stencils. Some of these are handmade. Some of these are from the Silhouette store. That's what I use. Some of these are created by friends. And I love using these. I use these with modeling paste and with spray paint. Some more palettes. This one is Caran d'Ache Gouache. Watercolor, some more paint palettes. And this Winsor Newton is actually one of my favorite paint palettes that come ready-made. I brought this bad boy with me to the Creative Bike headquarters in America when we filmed there. And now it's just got a sticker of a bunch of emotional women working in little books. Which is a Get Messy sticker, of course. Labels and alphabet stickers. It's supposed to be only that, but you can see I'm breaking my own rules. This one is titled Floral Ephemera, although it has got a swan. The swan's my totem, but most of these are vintage sheets of paper of florals. Another swan. Florals are my favorite thing to incorporate in my journal. And we have an amalgamation of vintage papers, some vintage fabric. There's some vintage paper from sewing things. And this is the type of vintage paper that I like collecting. Handwritten things, photos of people with babies. And I love tissue paper. This whole drawer is for tissue paper and tea bags. Moving on to the more sturdier of the cabinets. I have the smaller bits. My acrylic paints, I love using golden. This Tartan Mars Pale is my favorite shade. Fluid acrylics over here. These bad boys. You can see how much I love them. I have the other acrylic paints over here. My Sennelier Fluorescent Red. Some of my thicker golden paints, my open, which take a while to dry. I like to use them with the jelly plate. And I have my Liquitex. I also like this parchment color. It's basically the color of old book paper. And this, my neon pink by Schminker. In the next drawer is the Acrylic Wash. These golden are not actually acrylic wash, they are matte acrylics, but they feel a bit like gouache to me, or at least these Holbein gouache. So these Holbein gouache are so dang expensive, but the colors are beautiful. They feel like painting with butter, and I love them. Here are the Liquitex acrylic gouaches. I don't like them as much as the Holbein, but I decided to just buy like every shade they had, so. This container was the last gift that my favorite person in the world ever gave to me. Hand cream from my nana. It's empty now. If you have any ideas for what I can fill it with, please let me know. But I have these tubes of watercolor, and in this vintage sewing box, I have some half pans ready to be filled. Distress Oxide goes in here, and I don't really use them anymore. But I had a lot of fun organizing these little labels on the side. These are a lot of fun. I don't use them enough. And some ink. These are also fun. A lot of these supplies I buy just because they're pure fun. This is my all-time favorite fun in this Schminker, and it's like grown-up glitter. Some Liquitex acrylic ink, white, gold. This one is the muted pink. It's the only color really that I have that's out of my usual scheme. The Ecoline liquid watercolors, which are again fun to play with. Of course, I really like the fluorescent pinks. You can see that all my fluorescent pinks are always basically finished. These Winsor Newton inks are wonderful too. I tend to like all the golds, and I like all the blacks and the pretty standard neutral colors. I mean, gold's a neutral, right? Definitely a neutral. I don't use my colored pens that much, but I bought a whole bunch of Faber-Castell ones for my husband, and he didn't use them. Also have the Holbein ones, which feel like these fancy lunar aquarelle pencils that we used to have as kids. Basically butter. My favorite pencils, all-time favorite are the Black Wings. They You guessed it, right like butter. Brush and paint pens. I have these Ecoline brush pens. A lot of Kuretake pens, although this should technically go in the black pens one. I can see a few other ones that should be in there. These Uniposca pens are really great. And so are these watercolor brushes. Watercolor brushes, they keep the water in there. They're wonderful. I have these Copics that also come from my husband not using them. Some people collect their kids' art supplies. I just collect my husband's. My number one art supply ever since I was little, my whole entire life, has been a black pen. A good black pen. I remember when we were able to write with black pens in school. Before then, we always had to write in blue. I hate blue pens. I love the Kuretake Brush Pen. It's the number 28, and it's my homeboy. I don't know. I have this for my carpal tunnel. Every now and then it flares up. Usually when I was writing my book, it went crazy. A variety of miscellaneous things. This is some badass duct tape. This is the tools drawer where I've got tools. This is one of my favorite ones. These guys are basically paintbrushes that don't need washing. Well, not this guy. This guy is thoroughly expensive and I feel guilty every time I use him. A roller for my jelly plate. I love those paint splats. They make me exceptionally happy. My jelly plate itself does not. Don't come at me. The stamp drawer has some alphabet stamps, some StazOn, which is my favorite ink because you don't have to clean the stamps afterwards. A date stamp. Deeply love it. And that very cheap alphabet stamp that I just got off Amazon. I also have the stamp kit that I created for Studio Calico when I did their art journal mini book class. That was back in 2016, I think. Glues! These are my favorite glues. Okay. The star of the show, the Pritt Stick. This, oh my word, this I got in America. It's a Tombow tape runner and it's pink. You don't get them in Germany. This is a vellum roller. It's helpful for hiding the glue a little bit. Tombow liquid glue. It's wonderful, but it's sticky. My favorite are those pink rollers. So in Germany, they only have the blue ones, and it makes me sad every time that it's not pink. My collection of yarn, a beeswax that I use for waxing the linen, the thread. I get it all from Garn und Meer. That's a German company. And she has really cool colors, and I love binding junk journals with it. I have 3 journals for binding. So you saw the thread. This one is for the miscellaneous tools. I have the crocodile. I've got the We Are Memory Keepers. Hole punch that I don't really use. But I do really use these scissors. I love a big pair of scissors, and I like this tiny pair of scissors. This guy, yeah, not so frequent, but I've seen a lot of, like, it works well. And I've seen a lot of people using it very well. A drawer that I use just to keep bulldog clips and grips, and it looks like I have a lot, but really, honestly, when I'm binding a journal or if I'm binding a bunch of journals, this goes very quickly. I actually need some more, and for some reason I have a lot of erasers, even though I don't use them. This is my drawer for double-sided tape, Dymo, labels, refills for my paper trimmer because I can't stand having anything blunt, mini staplers for my mini stapler, and paper cutting tools. Then there's the washi tape drawer. This is all I have. I mean, it sounds like I don't have a lot, but I do have a lot. There's a lot here. And some rogue labels. I don't always create outside. Sometimes I create inside, but I will never bring my work on the outside. This is my creative space. This is my creative mess. It's taken me a long time to get here. And I'll never stop being grateful for all of it. For all the studios along the way. For all the times they have fit in with where I am in life and what I'm making. I'll never not be grateful.